Alright guys, look what we got. The kids are back in the tank. So whilst the fish were out of the aquarium for the past 7.5 weeks, I have noticed a whole lot of life in my aquarium. I got a whole lot of amphipods, a whole lot of bristleworms have appeared, a whole lot of little critters in the sand bed that just, make the aquarium look like it has a whole lot of life. But unfortunately, with the fish being out of my tank so long, I have had a whole lot of algae blooms, and as you can see here, a whole lot of green algae all over the tank, green hair algae, sorry, all over the tank. So this is the point where I'm trying to get the fish back in and they could start handling this. So in preparation for getting the kids back into the tank, I'm gonna do a little bit of cleaning, just cleaning some of the algae off the glass and some of the really encrusting algae off the glass as well. Clean up the rocks a little bit. I'm gonna leave the hair algae for them to deal with. In certain parts, the hair algae does look kind of good. I may just leave it. If they eat it, they eat it. If not, in certain parts, I'm just gonna leave it there because it does look a little natural and gives it a little more motion in some certain parts. I'd like to give a quick shout out as well to my wife for allowing me to have an extra tank in the living room, having it a little bit extra messy with all the hospital tank stuff, extra filters, extra holding tanks and stuff. So shout out to my wife. Alright, it's time to get the kids back into the tank. I'm going to do a little bit of an acclimation. Kind of no need to because I left out the salinities match perfectly. It's at 1.020. I had a bit of a mishap where the main tank salt salinity dropped from 1.025 to 1.02. Just extra water added. Alright guys, if you guys didn't know, I don't use nets in my aquariums. I catch all my fish by hand. I may use a clear cup to catch like the foxfish and the rabbitfish so I don't get stung, but for the most part I don't use nets in my aquarium. I think it's less stress on the fish, and the fish are already accustomed to me handling them in the aquarium and out of the aquarium when I get them from the store and whatnot. But it's always just less stress. The only time I may use it is if I have an eel and I need to use a big net to catch it, or a really small fast fish like a neon cleaner goby or something like that. At the same time of doing this video, I was also on the live stream as well, so you may see me reach over and show a fish off. So as I stated earlier that I like to use my hands to catch my fish, it is a totally safe way. You just have to remember that you wash your hands from any chemicals. Even if you do it in a fish only system, there are some fish that are sensitive to some chemicals that we use, like sunscreen or bug repellent or something. So you want to make sure you wash out your hands first. You could use a little bit of a dish soap, Dawn or whatever. Just have to remember to rinse your hands off multiple times after, just to get rid of the extra residue. And whatever residue of soap is left on your hands will be removed by your protein skimmer. One thing you have to be careful of when you're catching fish with your hands are the fish jumping out of your hands.
I say, what's going on here?
Whilst the kids are being acclimated to the display tank water, I'm gonna go ahead and start adding the rocks back from the quarantine into my main display and do a little bit more aquascape. Now, usually you don't add any rock, water, or equipment from your quarantine display back into your main display, and this is because the medication that you use in your quarantine display, such as copramine or any copper products, can basically wipe out your main display. I'm able to add all of the equipment and rock back into my aquarium because in this quarantine tank I did not use any copper based medications or any non-reef safe medications. I basically use Hypo salinity and some prime for slime coat and some ruby reef rally as well, just for the slime coat. So no medication, and it should be fine back into the main display. Alright, time to put the fish into the main display. I basically add them same way with my hands. Besides the fox face and the rabbit fish, I didn't want to get stung. I use a cup to add those into the tank. But for the most part, everything went okay. I was a little bit scared because once I put them in the tank, everybody went to the bottom and just chilled out for about 5 minutes, and then they started swimming. So I felt a lot better after they got accustomed back into the main display and they say, "Hey, we're home." And they're able to tank afterwards. Alright guys, that's pretty much it for this video. I'm gonna have a drink and sit back and relax. I'm gonna give an update next week on how all the fish are doing. I would say if fish lasts about 5 to 7 days, they are gonna last for the entirety of your aquarium unless some weird disaster happens. So let's keep our fingers crossed that everybody does pretty well.